This is my iPad. I'm old school here. I was at College of Wooster from 1974 to 1978. I was a chemistry major. And being a science major, I could give you a really good tour of campus as long as we stayed on the south side of university. Because I spent all my time on this side. Between my junior year and senior year, I was invited to do some research under a professor, Charles Borders. And that summer, I found that I hated doing research. And that's a difficult place to be if you're a chemistry major. And there was no place I could run and hide that summer, because that was the summer that the original Star Wars showed up. And Worcester at that time had one theater that had one screen down on Liberty Street. And all summer long, the only show they showed was Star Wars. So, on my return to Worcester as a senior, I talked to some advisors, and we started talking about what I might be able to do with my chemistry major. And I thought about maybe doing dentistry, and that brought me to being introduced to a local dentist, Dr. Ken Crawford, and I visited his office a number of times, and I found that he was having fun and doing well, and I thought that I could do the same. So after I graduated, I headed up to Cleveland, and I did my dental work at Case Western Reserve University. And to help pay my way through school, I started working part-time at university hospitals in the pathology lab there. And between samples of blood and urine and other bodily fluids, I met my wife, Marilyn. I graduated, I spent a year as a resident at Cleveland Metro Hospital, and Marilyn and I's dream was always to go south and start a practice. And we were thinking maybe North Carolina, where we have the beach and the mountains. But at the time when I got out of school, interest rates were 20%. And the dream was not going to match the reality. And the reality was that Ted Crawford had offered me a way. He offered to help me get started in Worcester. And so we headed south to Worcester. In the late 1990s, I had a house, my beautiful wife, 2 kids, 2 cars, a dog, the average American family. I only wish that somewhere along the line that one of my commencement speakers had been Buz Luhrmann.
Of the class of 99. Wear sunscreen. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, sunscreen would be it. The long-term benefits of sunscreen are being proved by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience. I will dispense this advice now. Enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Never mind. You will not understand the power and beauty of your youth until you fade. But trust me, in 20 years, you look back at photos of yourself, call in a way you can't grasp now how much possibility lay before you and how fabulous you really look. You are not as fat as you imagine. Don't worry about the future, or worry, but know that worrying is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum. The real troubles in your life are apt to be things that never crossed your worried mind. Kind blindsided you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. Do one thing every day that scares you. Sing. Don't be reckless with other people's hearts. Don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Floss. Don't waste your time on jealousy.
The line in there that I want to bring out is do one thing that scares you every day. Actually, I had to wait until he got to the floss. I am a dentist. I had a friend from church who did a medical mission trip to Honduras with a group that's based in Orville. The name is Central American Medical Outreach, or CAMO. And upon his return, he he had the founder, Kathy Chi, for a presentation at our church. After a talk, I met her, and I found out that there was a dentist in Canton, named Dr. Buz Luhrmann, that was going on their next trip. And he was going to be there for 2 weeks. 1 week he was going to be installing equipment at some dental clinics that we had. And the second week he was going to go out and treat patients. Well, even I knew at that point that treating patients in a third world country meant a lot of extractions. And I hadn't done many at all since dental school. And that idea scared me. But I could help. I could help put the equipment in. And so I signed up. So in February, I found myself on a plane flying from Cleveland to Houston, and then from Houston to Honduras. And at that point in time, Continental only had one flight to Honduras. You flew from Houston to the capital, Tegucigalpa. You made a small hop to San Pedro, and then came back to Houston. And so, if you've never flown into Tegucigalpa, you're lucky, because it's scary. As you approach Tegucigalpa, you come down through the clouds, and all you see are trees and mountains below you. And as you got farther and farther down, the trees get closer, and the mountains get higher. And all of a sudden, you make a very hard bank to the right, and then boom, you land, put on the air brake, and you stop. And then this plane turned around and went down the runway the wrong way and let everybody off. More people got on who made a little hop jump to San Pedro where I was getting off. And we stopped the plane on actually just had a taxi runway. And I stopped and I looked, and to the right, there was the runway, and then to the left was just scrub brush. They say, okay, it's time to get out. They wheel one of those stainless steel chairs, or stepways, that we got off the plane. We got on some shuttles with our passports punched in our hands. And we brought into a little shed that we stayed at for a while until they moved all of our luggage. Another shuttle came and got us. We were able to big long line, waiting to get through customs and also immigration. All the time I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? I got through customs, I found my baggage. As I walked through the doors and entered the main part of the terminal, there in the corner was a Wendy's. And I'm thinking, I'm okay. I'm okay. So, we got to load a bus. It's an old school bus. We go 3 hours up into the mountains where we were based. At the hotel, I met Dr. Buz Luhrmann, at which point he informed me that he'd been there the week before. All the clinics had been supplied, and we were going down to treat patients the next day. This picture is me at the end of that first day. And that first day was the absolute worst day I've ever had in Honduras. Absolute worst. I saw 4 patients. They were all difficult cases. I had to ask Dr. Rosen to help me finish some of them. And I'm not quite sure why I was smiling in that picture, except I think it was because of my mother. My mother beat upon us to make sure that 1, we always had a napkin when we ate, and 2, you always smile to the camera. That night, in my room, I sat on my bed and I wondered, why am I here? What am I doing here? It turned out that the second day was one of the best days I've ever had. And it was a good thing, because next February will be my 19th trip to Honduras. What we do in Honduras is we pack a generator and a compressor, and we take our portable dental equipment in vehicles, and we drive out to the booths, where we unload, usually at a school or at a community center, because if any place in the village that's going to have electricity, that's going to be one of those 2. And then the masses arrive. In Honduras, it's not that they don't have enough dentists. They do. They have 2 dental schools that produce very good dental dentists. I know because we work side by side with each other. And so it's not so much the number of dentists, it's the distribution of dentists. Dentists in Honduras, just like dentists here in the States, would much prefer to practice someplace where there's electricity and water. It just makes practicing dentistry that much better and that much easier. And many of the places that we go don't have either. And the need in the rural areas are great. So, we use lots of Novocaine. We repair what we can. And we remove what we must. Knowing that there's a very small likelihood that any of these children will ever see a dentist in any time in the near future. And what I've learned, that you got to do the best you can with what you have. We couldn't save the front tooth of this beautiful young teenage girl. So we stretched the clinical envelope, and we got creative, and we got it back in. And some are very happy that we've come to the village, and others not so much. But it's amazing what you can do in primitive conditions. The year before my first trip in Honduras, the Viola Sargent Free Clinic here in Worcester opened. At that time it was known as Healthcare 2000. I was recruited by a very influential dentist in town to volunteer there. He gave me an offer that I could not refuse. And at the time, I was not all that much more comfortable treating or extracting for patients here as I was in Honduras. And there was this great need also in Wayne County. I saw a lot of patients at the free clinic who had been waiting on a waiting list to be seen. Many were hurting, and they needed many non-restorable infected teeth removed. But all they got from me was a chance to sit in a very comfortable chair and have me tell them something they already knew. They had a bad tooth that needed to come out. And what I provided was some prescriptions and referral to the oral surgeon where they would get to wait even longer before the problem was solved. But once I returned from Honduras, I found that I could do some of the things that needed to be done. And in fact, at one point, I was producing 1/4 of all the dental treatment that was coming out of the free clinic. Now there are more dentists being involved, so there's still a great need, but there are many more providers to provide the services. And this all came about because of the push on a February day in Honduras when I was willing to do something that scared me. And through both experiences, both I had in Honduras and here in Worcester, it fed my own addiction, and I'll explain. During the interview process at Case Western Reserve, one of the questions they asked, and I'm sure all dental schools ask the same question, why do you want to be a dentist? And I think that the survey says the most common answer is, I want to help people. Well, my experience has shown me that providing dentistry in this manner is the purest way of healthcare. You have a person who has a problem, they approach you, you use your skills to help them solve that problem, and when you leave, you say adios. You don't worry about payment, you don't worry about insurance, you don't worry about the Ohio State Dental Board, you do the best you can do. But in my life's journey, I found that, for the most part, that Buz Luhrmann had it right. It's good to wear sunscreen, especially if you spend any time at all in Central America. It's good to do one thing that scares you every day that allows you to keep growing as a person. But he missed one point in that. In my life's journey, I found one other very important aspect of life. And I think Lauren will agree with this.
that one of the great paradoxes in life is the best thing you can do for yourself is to do something else, do something for somebody else. That's what I hope to have people carry away. And also,